G'day guys, I'm Jamie, you're watching Shenanigans 4x4 and this is my $150 Barra motor. Seeing this motor sitting next to me raises a lot of questions. What car did it come out of? What car is it going into? Why is it already half pulled apart? I saw an ad for this motor on Facebook Marketplace for $150. It was already pulled apart. The rocker cover on there being from a green top gas motor, the guy had already pulled out the motor from his XR6 and put in a LPG motor. That's where the rocker cover came from. I guess he didn't want to keep that. But yeah, he's basically stripped everything off it. We've got no water pump, no power steering, not even an idler pulley. He's put everything onto the replacement motor. So that's how I picked it up pretty cheap. So the next question, what am I going to do with it? Well, I've been a Ford fan for most of my life since I knew anything about cars. The B series was my favourite Falcon. Always wanted a XR6 Turbo U. Every man and his dog have been doing Barra conversions lately, so putting them backwards compatibly into the AU, E series, X series Falcons, even into Commodores, and pretty popular in R33 Skylines, I've heard. There's also a massive community around putting them in patrols and Land Cruisers, taking them off-road. Where this motor's headed, I'm still not 100% decided. Might not even be this motor that I end up putting into a vehicle, but for 150 bucks, even if I just use this as a learning experience on how the motors work, then that'll definitely help out. But first things first, this thing needs a bit of a bath, so let's get it cleaned up. Now, not jumping in completely blind, I've purchased the Haynes manual for all the Barra Falcon variants. I'll definitely be using that as much as I can to guide the disassemble and reassemble of the engine. It doesn't go into specifics of removing the pistons or anything. They recommend taking it to an experienced engine builder, but it does provide all the specs for bearing clearances and everything else you need to know for the rebuild. I highly recommend getting one of these manuals, whether you got a Falcon or a Barra out of its car. I've also got the same manual for my Ranger, which funnily enough, I use just to find the filler hole on my gearbox. That seems trivial, but it sped me up 5 minutes trying to find it. I'll also be keeping that in the vehicle for when we're off-road, in case there's any breakages, followed by the manual. You can't go wrong. I'll pull the rocker cover off and show off the cams. Now, I'm not highly experienced with an engine pulled apart this far, but I've had a bit of a look at the cams. I can't see any pitting, which is pretty common, especially once the motor gets to this age. Does look like a couple of heat spots. I'm not sure if that'll be detrimental, but yeah, I'll be having everything looked over by a machine shop. Whether I get this motor rebuilt or another one, I'll be getting the block decked, the head serviced, make sure everything's hunky-dory. Well, for $150, this motor really has impressed me. I was in the back of my mind expecting to see some timing problems, like the valves hitting the pistons, but looking at the pistons, I can't see any indentations or anything. On the underside of the head, looking at the valves, I can see one valve sort of sticking out a bit, clogged up by carbon. Nothing a good clean wouldn't fix, but yeah. Before putting it all back together, if I put this motor back together, it'll all be getting machined and worked over, have all the clearances checked. This is about as far as the Haynes manual will guide you in the disassembly of the motor. From here, it's basically the sump off the bottom, maybe some stuff in there about that, then undoing the conrod caps and pulling the pistons out. I do highly recommend the Haynes manual. In fact, I've got the electronic version as well for any pictures that may not be clear enough. There's color versions and there's some videos included with that. So the paper manual is good just to flick through to find what you're after, and then if you need better visuals or possibly a video, the online version's the way to go, and that's always handy in your pocket on your phone. So if you are after a Haynes manual, check the link down in the description. That'll give me a small kickback to continue doing projects like this. I will be pulling the block apart in the next video. If you do want to show your support, maybe have a say on where this project's heading, check out the Patreon links down below. There's also a merch link if you want to buy a hoodie or a t-shirt. Thanks guys, I'll see you in the next one.